A color shift appears on a tiny square no larger than a fingernail. It's subtle, barely noticeable. Yet the moment it changes, it reveals something the product itself can't say out loud. Something inside the package has crossed a threshold. That small indicator responds to molecules measured in parts per million. Utterview partner a rise of 20, maybe 30 parts per million of CO2. Levels far too low for the human nose to detect, but high enough for a reactive film sealed against the product. And that shift marks the beginning of a new kind of food safety, one where packaging becomes the first line of detection. For years, the industry relied on a familiar triad: the factory, the lab, and the regulator. Factories checked temperatures every few hours. Labs measured microbial growth through standard plate counts. Regulators intervened when evidence crossed a set limit. But these layers share a systemic delay. They respond after a deviation occurs, sometimes days after it starts. Smart packaging changes the timing entirely. It doesn't wait for a complaint, a failed shelf life test, or an audit sample collected every shift. It monitors the product continuously inside its sealed environment, where tiny fluctuations carry enormous meaning. A drift of 2 or 3 degrees for less than an hour. A slow oxygen increase caused by a pinhole no larger than a grain of salt. A gas signature that signals microbial respiration has begun. One of the earliest tools was the time temperature indicator, a label designed to record cumulative heat exposure, not one extreme event, but the total thermal load over hours or days. If the indicator reaches its chemical endpoint, usually after surpassing a threshold equivalent to several hours at mildly elevated temperatures, it reveals that pathogens may have had enough time to wake up from dormancy. Bacteria don't need large jumps. Sometimes a few degrees above ideal is enough for exponential growth to start. Freshness indicators push deeper. They rely on reactive inks that change state when exposed to gases produced during early microbial metabolism. CO2, ammonia, sulfur compounds, all released long before spoilage becomes visible. In some systems, the ink begins reacting when gas levels rise by only a few dozen parts per million. What looks like a clean, normal product may actually be producing metabolic traces that scientists usually detect only after incubation in a controlled lab. The label sees it early. Leak indicators solve a different problem. Modified atmosphere packaging depends on maintaining precise oxygen and CO2 ratios. A microscopic puncture can shift that balance within minutes. As oxygen rises by even a fraction of a percent, aerobic microbes gain the conditions they need. Indicators that respond to oxygen exposure activate instantly, highlighting failures that metal detectors, seal checks, and visual inspections routinely miss. A pinhole, invisible to the eye, becomes a bright signal printed directly on the package. The most advanced systems merge chemistry with electronics. Thin film sensors track humidity, temperature, and gas levels continuously. Some models log readings every few minutes, creating a complete thermal and atmospheric history. A spike recorded at 3 a.m. during loading. A slight but persistent oxygen rise during transport. A sudden humidity jump inside a pallet's core. Paired with dynamic QR codes, these sensors generate updated data every time they're scanned, turning ordinary labels into evolving traceability portals. What makes these technologies transformative isn't just the detection itself, it's the timing. A CO2 change at 25 parts per million may appear 6 to 8 hours before standard lab tests pick up microbial growth. A temperature drift recorded during a 40-minute window might reveal a cold chain breach that routine checks, taken every 2 to 4 hours, fail to capture. Packaging becomes a living timeline, not a passive container. The first major shift is predictive power. Instead of discovering a problem after it reaches a retailer or a consumer, smart packaging surfaces the deviation at its source. a pallet that warms at dawn during repeated loading cycles. A delivery route where humidity rises consistently on Fridays. A supplier whose atmosphere-controlled pouches show slow oxygen creep week after week. These patterns were once buried in the noise of large supply chains. Now they become visible. But visibility comes with consequences. Smart packaging doesn't eliminate risk, it exposes it. It forces companies to address problems they never knew they had. Factories must re-examine equipment that causes repeated microdrifts. Cold chain operators must validate whether their temperature claims match sensor data collected every 15 minutes. Retailers must decide whether a product that passes audits but shows a sensor warning is still safe to sell. The technology shines a light on gaps that existed long before sensors arrived. Even with limitations, sensor accuracy ranges, false positives from mechanical stress, and the cost of integrating electronics into inexpensive packaging, the trajectory is unmistakable. A future where packages report their own integrity, where spoilage warnings prevent recalls instead of confirming them, where consumers gain insight into a product's entire journey with a simple scan. But it raises a deeper question. If packaging now detects the earliest signals, from gas changes to thermal deviations measured in degrees, minutes, and parts per million, how must food safety systems evolve when the container can speak first? Somewhere inside a sealed product, a sensor shifts color again. Quiet, precise, unseen. A soft reminder that the future of protection may already be printed on the label.